Good morning, everybody. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody back for the spring semester. I know you had the faculty had a great break, and other than the snow, the weather was beautiful, even with the snow. So we have a very exciting program for you today. I'd like to make two announcements. One of them is this omission in the diversity presentation. Meg Tarafdar from the English department is also one of the committee members. So sorry about that, Meg. The other announcement I'd like to make is that the faculty senate, or the senate, will be meeting on the 16th next month, February, because that Tuesday that we normally meet in is it a Friday schedule? Yeah, it's a Friday schedule, so we just moved it back to the 16th. Okay, so first we're going to have Laura Vaccaro from the Deer Oaks program. CUNY is actually making every effort to provide resources for the faculty or for all the employees at CUNY, not only professionally, but also personally. And they've brought on the services of Deer Oaks, and Ms. Vaccaro will talk to us a little bit about all the services they offer. Okay, now we got to find the presentation. Nope. Wrong. There's a lot of presentations here. Yeah, that's one.
Now I just to go
Yeah,
forward.
and whatever you're talking about.
Okay. All righty. Good morning, everybody. I've never been here before. I live in Jackson Heights, and I'm glad to finally visit. I hope everybody's having a good week, and you made it okay through the snowstorm. So I'm here to talk with you about all the benefits that are offered to you through the Deer Oaks Employee Assistance Program. Let's see. So, okay. I'd like to start with an overview, just letting you know the different categories of all the benefits that are available. Today we'll be talking about legal services that are available to you, financial services that will be available to you and everyone in your household, interactive will presentation. There's a kit actually on our website where you can create your own will that's specific to your state, and it's legally binding. We have services for identity recovery and theft prevention, which I think is getting even more important in this day and age. You'll be able to receive all kinds of specific referrals for child care and elder care that meet your requirements, and referrals for services of daily living. Anything that you can think of that'll make your life easier on your to-do list, perhaps, you can just call into our call center and we'll help you find those referrals. We'll also be talking about a program called Take the High Road, which is a free cab ride. You see it listed there. And of course, we'll be talking about the EAP short-term counseling that we offer. Most people, when they think of an EAP, they think of the short-term counseling, but I'd like to make you aware of all these other benefits as well. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about our website, and there are resources there. Before I get into specifics, I'd like to talk about who's covered. So all the employees of the CUNY system are covered, whether they're part-time or full-time. All of your dependents are covered, whether they live with you or not. They could live in another state. And all of your household members are covered. So, for example, if your grandmother is visiting you from Colorado, while she's living with you, she'll be covered by the services. If your neighbor is having their house renovated and they're staying with you, they would be covered. And the reason, the philosophy behind this is that we feel that if anybody in your house is experiencing stress, that will impact you. So we want to get them services. Okay. Now, the way to access the services, you see this access number here, right there. You just call that number. It's 1-855-492-3633. That's a dedicated line for CUNY. And someone will be there, a live master's level counselor will be available to answer any of your questions and speak with you. That's 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Here's the website, dearoaks.com, and you see the login right there. It's for your particular college. Okay. There's something that I want to mention, which is important because some people, they're hesitant to use the counseling services because they don't want their supervisor or human resources to know that they might be struggling with something. So they wonder about the confidentiality. I'd just like to let you know that it's against the law for us to share any details of your treatment with your supervisor or human resources. You're protected by state laws of confidentiality and HIPAA laws. So you can rest assured that it's completely confidential. All right, so first I'd like to tell you something about the legal services that are offered. The first part of this is a 30-minute telephonic consultation with an attorney. We have access to a network of attorneys nationwide, and certainly attorneys in all different areas in the tri-state area, Connecticut, Long Island, upstate, Brooklyn, everywhere. And you can call anytime without an appointment to speak with an attorney about almost any issue. So say, for example, you're getting divorced or someone in your household is getting divorced. You have the telephonic consultation, and then you've decided that you need to retain an attorney, and you would like to meet with an attorney in person. So we will schedule an attorney for you to meet with right in your area, and that attorney will talk to you and help you with whatever issue you come for. There's a 25% discount off your attorney's hourly fee if you use the attorney that is referred to you. And I just want to mention, you see all right here, all of the covered issues: family law, criminal law, bankruptcy, adoption, elder care and wills, trusts, estate planning, consumer issues. The only exclusions would be lawsuits against your employer, because since it's financed by CUNY, we're not going to give you advice about that. And IRS and anything having to do with IRS issues. Okay. Last but not least, I'd like to mention that as part of this legal benefit, we have a library with over 100 legal forms that you would have access to anytime. So all you'd have to do is go online and look at the forms. Say you're a landlord, and instead of paying someone to construct a lease for you, you could find one of the leases online and use that. Okay, financial services. So at our call center, we have accredited financial counselors that are knowledgeable about a wide range of anything having to do with money and counseling you on those issues. This is 100% telephonic service, so you would just call in. It's unlimited. You can call as many times as you want, and a counselor, an accredited financial counselor will speak with you. You just call that toll-free information line. After they speak with you, they will follow up and mail you supporting materials. And you see the examples here. Whoops, right there. So say you want to improve your credit score. It's the beginning of the year. A lot of people are thinking about these things. You'd like to improve your credit score. You're maybe consolidate debt from a college loan. Maybe you're saving for retirement. Maybe you want to buy a house. All of these things can be talked with one of the financial counselors. The next benefit that's available to you, I think, is a really wonderful benefit. It's right on our website, and it's an interactive will preparation program. So even if you're not a really technically savvy person, technologically savvy person, it's a pretty accessible, easy program. There's a drop-down box. Your state comes right up, and it takes you step by step how to create your own will, which is state-specific and legally binding. And don't forget that you also have your legal benefits, your telephonic and in-person legal benefits. So you can start writing your will, and if you have any questions, you can call on the phone and ask an attorney, or you can print it out and have a face-to-face consultation with an attorney about that. Okay. ID recovery. This is a great peace of mind benefit. We have, at our call center, access to professionals who their specialty is identity theft protection against identity theft and recovery in case someone tries to compromise your identity. So this is a 30-minute consultation, and they will assess what has happened, and they will come up with a plan for you to help you recover your identity. So I know in this day and age with many of the things, maybe you're shopping at a chain and you get a letter in the mail that their firewall has been compromised. And you're worried, you can call as often as you want to speak with someone about what to do about that. And now we come to work-life services. And encompassed in this are child care services and elder care services. This is a great benefit, and most people don't think about this when they think about what an EAP provides for them. But you can call in, and we will find referrals for you for child care services. For example, your child needs a tutor, and they need it at special times, and they need it in a special location. You can give us your criteria, and it'll take us 12 hours, 12 business hours in a regular situation, or if you say it's an emergency, we'll find you resources, a minimum of 3 resources within 6 business hours. So as you can see, this would be after school and before school programs, child sick care, say it's 2 in the morning, you wake up and your child is sick, and the daycare doesn't take children who are sick. We would help you find resources for how to care for your child while you're at work, if you have to go to work. Sports camps, maybe you have teenagers, maybe you're thinking you'd like a soccer camp for your teenagers, but it has to be in July, and it can't be over $200 each teenager. So we would get back to you in a quick turnaround time to find you the resources specific to your criteria. It's the same with elder care services. Perhaps you have a parent and you're not sure what to do about that elderly parent. You only know that they can't be alone, right? So you can call with someone, at the access number. They will talk with you about what to do, give you advice. They have expertise in working with older adults. And they can find resources for you, assisted living resources, and this could be anywhere in the country because we have a whole database that's nationwide. Retirement communities, questions about Medicare, which it's very hard to figure out some of those benefits. So I think this is a wonderful benefit because you get help with these things, and it takes a lot of time to try to do all this by yourself. Part of the work-life benefits are the referrals for daily living. You can see the categories right here. Perhaps you need a kennel that's close to your house. You're going away. And your dog may have special needs. Who knows? If your dog has seizures or something, you could find a special kennel and we will help you with that. If you're looking for, so these are the categories. Career development. Maybe you're looking for resume writing services for your college student. Let's see. You can see them all listed here. And education, financial aid, you have some questions about that, scholarships. We have people who will be able to get you information to save you all of that time that you'd have to use during your workday. Okay. I really like this one, the Take the High Road program. Does anybody know about this program? Oh, you know back there. Okay. Well, we encourage you to use it. So this is a free cab ride. So it's available to everyone. It's one time per year. And sorry, we can't be your regular chauffeurs. It would be nice if it was available every week, wouldn't it? In the case that you're somewhere, you're at a happy hour, you're having a good time, and you just feel you can't drive home on your own, or you've taken a medication and you're having a bad effect, whatever it is, no questions asked. You just hail a cab or call a cab, save the receipt, and submit it to us, and we will reimburse you. Up to $45, no tips included. So I guess there's two limitations. One limitation would be, say you're traveling from New York City to Montauk. Now that's going to be more than $45. However, you can submit the receipt to us, and if it's $120, we'll give you $45 of that. Let me see, what was the other one? And again, it's once a year. Okay. All right. Take the high road. There it is. Okay. Critical incident stress debriefings. I have done some of these myself. I did one at Queensborough Community College, which I really found very rewarding. But these are when a mental health professional goes on site to campus or your workplace in the case of an emergency or a crisis. Something has happened. Maybe there's an injury, a sudden injury of an employee or a sudden death, or it doesn't even have to be a crisis. Maybe someone who's been there for a long time is retiring, and the staff just needs to process that because it almost becomes like a family, right? You spend so much time with the people you work with, and people have reactions. So critical incident stress debriefings, a mental health professional will come on site, and you decide when you need it or not. And of course, EAP short-term counseling is something that's available to you. This benefit is available 24/7, 365 days a year. And you can see the phone number right up here that you would call. And you call in, and there will be a master's level counselor to speak with you and find out what your needs are. If you need to talk to someone right away, they'll talk to you. And then they will help you to find a therapist. There's individual, family, and couples counseling. The counseling can be done face-to-face, it can be done over the phone, or even online. I want you to know that you have access to sets of multiple sessions. So you have up to 8 sessions per person per year, but there's no limit to how many times you can use this service during the year. So for instance, say you're having some marital issues and you'd like to go for marital counseling. Well, you'll have up to 8 sessions to do that. And then say 4 months later, you're having a problem with your child or something you want to talk to a professional about. You can go again and receive another up to 8 sessions for that issue. And then there's maybe you're having some anxiety about something, you can go again. So what happens is you call into that number right there. Whoops. And you let the counselor know what your criteria are for a therapist. You may want a male therapist, or a female therapist. So you can let them know that. A therapist with a certain specialty, for example, maybe one who specializes in eating disorders or divorce or aging parents, whatever it is. And also location is very important for people, and schedule. You may want to see your therapist during your lunch hour in Manhattan. So, or you may be more comfortable seeing them in Queens on the weekend. So this counselor with the EAP would go to work for you, and within 48 hours would come back and have a referral for you. They also would try to match this referral with your insurance. So when you're finished with your EAP benefit, you could transition right into your insurance. I forgot to mention that a great benefit of using your EAP short-term counseling are that there are no copays. So it's a great way to get started because copays are rising in the insurance world. I'm sure we all know this. Okay, and just one other thing to mention, in case somehow you're not that satisfied with your therapist, you meet with them and it's not a good fit, it's fine. You can just call back and call back at the number up there, and your EAP counselor will find you another therapist that meets your criteria within 48 hours. All right, so here is our website. You can see this has a lot of wonderful resources as well. You log in right there under Member Services, and your login would be QBCC. Your password is the same. And through this website, you have access to videos, fact sheets, you can do database searches that are right there at your fingertips. So you log in. Oops, wrong one. And what happens is this is a very rich website that comes up. It has news, it has online seminars, tips for managing your employees. Right here it talks about take the high road. You can see right here are the centers. I spoke about legal benefits, work-life resources. Okay, so you just click on those and you can access the Living Will program and all of those things. Okay, here it is, right there, online Simple Will Preparation Kit. In addition to all I've spoken about, you receive a newsletter. You'll be receiving a newsletter, one for employees and one for supervisors. And there's lots of information that's very useful in these newsletters as well. I know there's an example for supervisors about how to spot an employee that might need some services and how you might see those signs. And last but not least, right here, this is how you access services. It's 1-855-492-3633. And there's our email, www.dearoaks.com. Put in your username and password. So it's really been my pleasure telling you about all of the benefits that are available to you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
On that, the taxi.
Yes, that's a good one.
Is Uber covered?
I think that you should call that excess number and find out. I'm not quite sure about that. Anybody else? Yes?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I was just wondering, how are you funded? And is this something that will be ongoing? Is there a time limit to these services? Is it grant funded? I'm just curious.
Is it grant funded? I think it's paid for by CUNY. It's paid for by CUNY, for CUNY and its employees. Mm-hmm. And I believe it should be going on. I know the services have been enhanced. So, yeah, it should be ongoing. Anybody else have any questions? And remember, you can use these services for all of your dependents, whether they live here or not, or anybody living in your household, even a roommate or a neighbor, as long as they're living with you. Okay, so it's a nice thing to be able to offer people as well as taking advantage of it for yourself. All right, well, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Here we go. Let's go here. Okay, so the next part, let me talk a little bit about the services we offer. That is the Office of Academic Affairs. We've had a few people to the staff since last year. Of course, it's always me, but we still have Glenn Birdie, who's the Dean for Academic Operations. Glenn is sitting right in front. He handles really the budget, but most faculty will come to him whenever, the faculty travel grant. So anytime you get accepted to a conference, Glenn is the person that you should talk to. He also, for the departments, he also handles the adjunct appointments. Recent to the department, we have Sandra Palmer. She's the Dean of Faculty. Say hi, Sandra. Okay. And she's going to be working with the faculty just to help them, with workshops and just provide resources and support that the faculty needs. So this is something that we've wanted for a long time, just to be able to help the faculty more. She's going to be working also on remediations, and she will be the PI on Perkins. Then we have Andrea Salas. She's a faculty in the health, physical education, and dance. She's doing the academies and early alert. And Linda Reisman, hi, okay, who's in the back. And Linda, basically, she's going to be doing articulation and transfers, research compliance, and new courses and programs. So anybody and we do a lot of this, who's pedagogical research, and you have an IRB question, Linda's the person that you should go to. Likewise, if you're thinking about developing a new program, Linda Reisman is also the person to go to. Then we have Bruce Naples, who I don't think is Bruce. Okay, everyone knows Bruce. Academic Computing Center and e-learning. Kathleen Landy, the director of CETL, she's also new. And again, she's going to be helping with faculty workshops and also the HIPS. And Tulio, director of the registrar, everybody knows her. And new person, Jennifer Williams, who is here, over there. And she's going to be academic program specialist, the titles. But she's going to be helping with the honors program and Q and USIP. Q, Coordinated Undergraduate Education, USIP, University Summer Immersion Program. So we are all basically here to help you help the students. This is the flow chart. The only correction I would make, you see how like the arrows, like everybody reports to the provost? I actually almost see it like the arrow should be going the other way. Here are the academic departments, because we actually, I believe it is our job to work for you. We're helping you, we're here for you, and anything you need, just let us know. I always like to talk about the enrollment at the college. In general, it's been going up. When I first started, we were a little bit less than 11,000. We've gone up to over 16,000 students. And as you might be able to see, I mean, it's kind of hard to detect the trend, but it appears to be going down again. The downward trend, or the upward trend, had basically two things happening. One of them was the demographics. There were more students graduating from high school at that time. Now the population's getting older, the students of that age are, we don't have as many, so there's that happening. But also around this time, we had the recession. And when there's a recession, people tend to stay in college, or they tend to, once they get fired, they tend to go to college, especially community colleges. The economy's doing better, the demographics are changing, so we kind of expect that the enrollment is going to be going down. This is important because this is what affects our funding. We get paid by the state per student, and we get paid, the tuition for the enrollment. So we are keeping, track of this. We are noticing, and we do have a plan to take care of this, because if we don't have the enrollment, we don't have the money for all the things that we'd like to do, like publications and travel and grants. There's two ways to bring the numbers up in this situation. We're working more closely with student affairs. The enrollment numbers, we're working more to bring in new students. We're working with high schools. We have all these collaborative programs with high schools. So once the students become familiar with Queensborough, at Newtown High School, we have a lot more students coming in from Newtown High School. We're also developing new programs that we know are hot programs, that there will be jobs in the future. Jobs in the healthcare industry, and more recently, we're coming up with a new public health program and a new environmental science program. So that's two ways we could actually help with the enrollment. The other way to help with the numbers is with the retention. We have students coming in, but not all the students that come in graduate or stay with us after a year. So this is something we're working with student affairs and with the faculty, with the department, to help increase the retention. I mean, we're promoting the HIPs, the high impact practices, and we'll talk about them more maybe another day. But I hope most of you have heard these words before. We've instituted the early alert system, and a lot of the faculty are using them. But again, please, if there's any student that's not doing well in your class, I mean, when I first started here at Queensborough 15, 16 years ago, if I had a student that hadn't shown up to class, we would have these green sheets with the telephone numbers on it, and I would have to call them and ask them, where you been? And of course, they weren't there, so I would leave a message. They had answering machines, or I left a message with their mom. Now, you don't have to do that anymore. We have faculty, we have advisors who will call the students for you. All you have to do is take 5 minutes to do the whole class, really, and just press a button, and somebody will reach out to the student for you. If you want to refer them to tutoring, they'll do that for you as well. You could actually do that directly, and somebody from the tutoring center will call the student and say, "Hey, Timmy, I heard you're not doing too well in math. Come over to the tutoring center." And the students are usually all freaked out. It's like, "How do you know that?" It's like, but again, it's all about getting the students to graduate. We don't want to jeopardize academic rigor. So we want to support the students, give them as much support so that they can succeed. Our students really don't have as much support as other places. So I think it's on us to help us support the students. So please help me, and help me with the early alert system. So you're going to be getting a couple of emails throughout the semester regarding starfish. It takes literally, when I do it, it takes me 5 minutes. That's for like 4 or 5 classes. It doesn't take that long because I know the students' names. But take the time out and please help us help the students, okay? So the enrollment has been going up and then down a little bit, but we've also been hiring a lot of faculty. As of this semester, we are almost at 400 faculty. That's almost twice as when I started here. We also, at this semester, we have the lowest student to faculty ratio that we've ever had. And that's a lot that, all the resources we put, first of all, to hire new faculty, but again, the low student to faculty ratio will help us help the students, help with the success. So our office provides, resources for, the faculty. I mentioned the Academic Affairs Travel Grant. So again, if you ever get accepted to a conference, this also works, we call it travel grants, but it's also for publications. So if you get a paper accepted to a peer-reviewed journal, not predatory journals, but like an actual journal, and I know, and we will provide up to $1,000 grant for you to either attend or present at the conference and publish your paper. There's one condition though, once a year. No, you have to list Queensborough as your primary affiliation. Okay, not the Graduate Center. Queensborough has to be your lead institute. We have the CETL Pedagogical Research Grant, which will be coming out. The announcement's coming out, I guess, in next month or in 2 months. Next month. Thank you, Kathleen.
And there'll be some workshops to present an overview of the guidelines and to lend support to the faculty who wish to submit a proposal.
Yes.
So there'll be much more information coming about that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have the new faculty mentor program. So those of you that just started with us this semester, or even this year, we've paired you up with senior faculty member who will help you just kind of, the lay of, get a sense of the lay of the land and, help you things like, oh, where do I get chalk? We don't have chalk anymore. Where do we get markers? How do I get my class open? Little questions like that. The mentor program, it was originally for the first year, but now we've extended it forever. So hopefully you are friends forever. Anytime we offer a summer or winter classes, a part of the proceeds, a part of the profits from that class actually is going now to the department. And this is an additional resource the departments have to support faculty in their activities. So we have the $1,000 travel grants, but in many cases, let's say you want to go to Spain, $1,000 is probably just the ticket alone. You could actually supplement your travel, your project with these funds. The PMBs, the department PMBs that usually handles these funds. Last year we made this announcement. Basically, for a while we've known that faculty, we have a very good track record of getting faculty from assistant to associate and to tenure and then associate. But usually the road from associate to full professor is not always so easy. The bar's a little higher. I'll explain to you why a little bit later. In addition to that, we have faculty that started way back when, and since then, I think the criteria has actually been raised. So 2 years ago, the president, we talked about it, and we thought about some type of program to help faculty get from associate to full professor, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So we actually started the program. We sent out a solicitation last year, and we had a competition, and I'll tell you about the recipients in a little while. And then we have the new Faculty Institute, which we just had last week. Thank you, Kathleen. In addition to that, CETL also has the faculty inquiry groups, and these are actually listed in the program. So if you want to see who's got them, just look on page 3 or 4. Okay. So these are some of the resources we have for everybody. CUNY is also a great source of support. Of course, we have the 24 hours release time, which is part of your contract agreement. And I urge everybody to take advantage of that. Too many times I've seen faculty, the 24 hours release time are over, and they really haven't gotten to where they want to be. So please take advantage of that time. It's almost a year worth of teaching. Okay, there's a lot you can do there to prepare you for the tenure and the associate professor. We have the Chancellor's Research Fellowship Award, which is a CUNY-wide competition for faculty to help them with their research projects. This is actually very competitive, and we're competing with the four-year colleges and the graduate school. But last year, we had 4 faculty members who received that very competitive award. Kaftola, Ursula Golubieska, Amy Trevor, and Haishin Yao. No, they're not here today, okay? Are they? Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. Amy's in the back. Okay. We have the Faculty Fellowship Publication Program. Again, this one helps you, you have an idea, I'd like to publish this book or this paper, but it hasn't, sometimes it's hard to find the time, or you're looking for a publisher and it's, you have to take time to find a publisher. Sometimes you have to work out these relationships with the publisher yourself. So what this does is they offer you time and resources to help you, they give you workshops, you have writing groups, you work with a mentor, they introduce you to editors and publishers. So this is a good way to get faculty, to get your paper, or just help you get your paper published. And again, last year, I think we had 5 faculty members who received the Faculty Fellowship Award, Publication Award. It was Carolyn King from Math, Kathleen Alves, Leah Anhurst, George Fragolopoulos, and Tanya Salalasheva, sorry, from the English department. So again, we always do very good in the CUNY-wide competitions. We have the PSC grant, which I always encourage faculty to go for. They have several categories of grants. This year, we had the highest applications. 64 PSC CUNY grant proposals went in. Okay, that's a lot. That's the highest we've ever had. And come the spring, I'm hoping to get 64 grant acceptance. We have the Collaborative Incentive Research Grants Program, which is, again, it's another just research for faculty who are interested in doing a research project, but this one you have to collaborate with someone else at CUNY. And then they have one specific to community college, the Community College Research Grants Program. It used to be the C3 IRG, but this year they changed it. Their criteria have changed a little bit. Last year it was, again, it's also pretty competitive, but last year we had 3 projects that were funded through the C3 IRGs. So I'm always pushing for people to go for these. And the solicitation, the deadline for this is actually around the same time the CETL grant comes out, so you keep an eye out for it. Okay. I mentioned the Presidential Fellowship Program, and basically it's to help faculty who've been here a while and just need a little support. So the idea is to get them back on track, to get them back into the research. The program provides up to 4 hours for each time each semester. That's just to help with their, your scholarly activities. But we also pair you up with a faculty mentor, like a senior faculty, who will help you either with your research project, if you're doing pedagogical research, and you need maybe help with a statistician, someone to help you with the math. We will help you with that. And then in addition to that, we'll provide up to $1,000 in support, either just basically to present at a conference or travel. And it's renewable up to 4 semesters. Okay, so if you're an associate professor, you've been in the associate track, in that title for a while, and I really encourage you to, I want everybody to be full professor. So we're going to send out the announcement probably next month, but if you have any questions, always feel free to ask me, okay? As I mentioned, we ran the competition last semester, and the recipients are, the ones for this semester are Hamid Namdar from Engineering Technology. Hamid's going to be working on, he's writing a control systems textbook. Hamid wasn't here. Patrick Wallace from Math and Computer Center, Math and Computer Sciences Department, and Patrick's going to be working, he's going to be, he's doing a research paper on the history of algebra problems, so it's actually very interesting. And Connie Williams from the library, and she's going to be working to use, basically the library has all these resources, so she's going to be making it providing a study to make it available to other, to students, basically. Okay, so these were all for associate professors. In addition to that, Dean Palmer sent out an email announcing workshops that the Office of Academic Affairs, that she will be having to support faculty tenure and promotion. The first one is going to be next week, what you need to know when applying for a full professor. This week, the President's office sent out the letters to the associate professors who are eligible to go for full professor. So the first question everybody asks themselves is, am I ready to go for full professor? Okay. So who's the best people to talk to? Well, your chairs, senior faculty members, or perhaps someone who just got the full professor. So this conversation, this get-together, basically you're going to meet chairs, you're going to meet faculty who actually did it last year and were successful, and they will actually tell you, okay, what was I thinking? When I decided to go for full professor, what was I thinking? When did I know I was ready to go for full professor? Incidentally, you don't have to be an associate professor to go to the first workshop. If you're an assistant professor, you just started with us, you're starting this semester, it's not a bad idea to see what lies ahead. I remember we had the same workshop last year, and people who had just started came, and they found it very helpful. Keep that in mind. We have another one just in general for promotion and tenure, just for mid-career faculty, general information session for reappointment and tenure, opportunities for service, which is another leg of the stool. And for those of you who do decide to go for the full professor this year, we're going to be having a practice session. So you may know this, you may not know this, but when you go for assistant, when you go for tenure, when you go for associate, you basically, the PMB votes, and it's your chairperson that presents you. When you go for full professor, you're up there, and you're talking to the college PMB. So it's a good idea to practice. So again, last year we had that, and it was very successful, and we will have feedback. We won't have the real PMB, but we will have other faculty members, including faculty members from the Department of Speech, who will help you with your presentation and will give you, good feedback. Okay, so I hope you're able to attend some of these events. Last year, the faculty who went found it very, very useful. Okay, so if you have any questions about any of these events, please contact Dean Palmer. We also sent, Dean Palmer also sent out an announcement, was it last week, was it? Last week. CUNY also recognized that associate professors also need a little bit of support. We recognized it a while ago. They just recognized it because of the coach survey. So they will be having, basically it's a series of workshops and these are the topics that are going to be covering. Where is it? Just basically time management, negotiation, building and optimizing your CV. The important thing here is that we're not sure how much it's going to be, but people who are accepted into these workshops will have the availability, to have the opportunity to apply for additional funding, but they haven't told us how much that is. Okay. So that's just another resource that people thinking about going for full professor have. Okay. The QCC Award for Excellence in Faculty Scholarship is given to a tenured faculty who's shown a consistent record of exceptional publishing and being engaged in their scholarship. Okay, this is a very prestigious award at the college, which is given every other year. The winners actually are placed outside in upstairs. Their picture goes up on the wall. This year's recipients are Moni Chauhan from the chemistry department. Moni. Okay. Okay. And Nidhi Gadura from the biology department. She's shy. Okay. Okay. We're going to be having an award ceremony on April 5th, and I hope you're all able to attend. Okay, this is a very, very, very nice event, and it's a very prestigious award. Finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about tenure and promotion because it's something everybody's concerned about. Basically, everybody's familiar with the three legs of the stool. Basically, according to the bylaws, both CUNY bylaws and QCC bylaws, we're looking for teaching effectiveness, scholarship, and service to the institution. To be an assistant professor, basically you just need a PhD, but for the associate, in order to get the associate, the bylaws state that you have to show continued effectiveness in teaching and scholarship. But for full professor, exceptional teaching and scholarship, excellence in teaching and scholarship in his or her discipline. Okay, so basically, it's a little bit above the norm. The question is, the guidelines, the bylaws really don't give us a lot of specificity. Sorry, need a glass of water. And there is a process in place, and the PMB, both the PMBs at the department and the college PMB really, they do have criteria and they do have guidelines, and they are fair beyond belief. When I first went into the PMB, I was surprised how much thought and discussion goes into these decisions. Oh, thank you, Stephen. Okay. And we've tried to demystify the process by having some of these workshops and to just let people know, just have the conversation, let you know what's involved in going up for tenure and promotion. And we do recognize, even with that, people are still a little apprehensive, a little uncertain. So we're looking into, this is just the beginning of a conversation, okay? We're gonna be going to the departments because each department is different. And we're gonna be asking the department PMBs, what are your criteria for teaching, scholarship, and service, okay? And so we're gonna start there. We're gonna start the conversation at the department level. And I just want to give you three guidelines. I'm talking to the PMBs right now. Okay, so the first thing is, any guidelines that we come up with has to be consistent with the CUNY and QCC bylaws. We cannot cannot overstep that. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about writing down some of what you're thinking of. Also, any criteria that we come up with it's going to have to be specific to each discipline. Okay, a faculty member in the theater department is going to have a lot different criteria than someone in the physics department. I come from the physics department, and in order to get tenure promotion, you have to publish in a journal, the Journal of Physics, Nuclear something or Energy. Okay, the Journal of Nuclear Energy. Likewise, if you're an English professor, it's a little bit different. So each department's going to have slightly different criteria, yet there has to be something that's consistent. Okay, how do we measure a theater production compared to, or a music performance compared to a paper in the Journal of English Language, something or other, literacy. I'm sorry, David, I'm butchering the English journals. Okay, but you know what I mean, okay? So not only do we have to come up with different criteria for each department, but we have to kind of bring them together so everybody has the same level playing field. Does that make sense? Okay. Is that an easy thing to do? It won't be easy, but let's start the discussions, okay? And finally, we might want to allow for some flexibility. We have faculty members who's been here 5 years, and they've published, they have 100 articles. Okay, but maybe they haven't had much chance to do service. We have other faculty members, they've been here for, 20, 30 years, they haven't published as much, but yet, at every department, anytime anything happens, they need someone for a search, or the college, we need someone for Middle States. They're the first person to raise their hand. Should that count? Thank you. Okay, so let's bring all that together and take that all into account when we come up with any guidelines that we do for tenure and promotion. Okay, these are all the things that the college PM and the department's PMB look into when making the decision. Okay. Let's a preliminary draft by April 1st. That's not a joke. So we'll start there. Is that okay with everybody? Thank you. Okay. Questions? Yes, Phil, thank you. Well, thank you. This is
rather outspoken about the need to have more provided to our faculty than we have now. Trevor, you think I need that? I think people who have been here a while know that I've called for the sort of thing that you have indicated you have underway now. My concern that you haven't yet addressed is once the criteria or guidelines or guidance or whatever you want to call it is set by Department P&Bs and maybe even agreed to at the college P&B, where will be the effective enforcement? Where will there be some kind of oversight to make sure that when a department has expressed to faculty, the department chair has given guidance to faculty concerning their reappointment, tenure, or promotion, and that person has met the expectation within the department, and they go before the college P&B, that there will be respect for what their colleagues in the department have done in setting out the criteria and guidelines,
right,
providing the guidance, and seeing that their colleagues in the department did meet what was expected. We don't want to see a person come through the department and fulfill the expectation over a series of years, end up at the college P&B only to be turned down in some inexplicable way. And they're left wondering, what went wrong? What didn't I do? So what's been lacking, and sorry, but I'm going to make this observation, that in your office, in your position, there's been quite a turnover. Now that we hope that you're sticking around at least for another 16 years.
I'll try.
Can you give us some assurance that at least you will make an effort to see that what's agreed upon will be enforced and adhered to by the people whose responsibility it is to conduct personnel review? And for me, it's a matter of respect,
right,
that we show respect for our colleagues across the board, and in particular, that department chairs show respect for other department chairs, that when they've given the guidance that's been met by their faculty and bring them before the college P&B, the college P&B really does understand that and respect it. What assurance can you give us?
Well, once we do come up with something, it'll be our collective effort to ensure that these criteria are enforced. Okay. We do have several mechanisms in place right now, the Academic Review Committee, for example, and the president has the final say. Okay. So we will work together to make sure we follow these guidelines. So we have to. And if somebody's not doing their job, then you call me on it. Fair enough? Thank you. Incidentally, more and more accrediting agencies are looking for these type of criteria. I know speech and theater is going through their accreditation process, and one of the things that, I mean, when they are the first, but basically they're looking to start this right away only because their accreditation depends on it. So this is going to be coming up more and more as other accrediting agencies take this on. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, at this point, I'd like to call the president of the college, Dr. Diane B. Call. Diane?
Thank you. I think you probably join me in being very appreciative, and I'm personally very grateful to have Paul Marchese in this role as Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. He's really been amazing. Well, good morning. I'm just going to give you some highlights. It's always nice to have a little bit of good news as we begin a new term. I can't believe it starts again tomorrow, and I know there are many people here who never really had a break because they've been working through winter session. They've been working to help get our students ready, either through teaching or certainly advisement and registration. So this year, we've hired 38 faculty. In the fall and the spring, 38 new faculty have joined us. We're very, very pleased about that. We've been continuing this effort to recruit, retain faculty, and I am amazed, I shouldn't be surprised anymore, that we have assembled, I think, an incredible group of colleagues. And I'm very appreciative to everyone who participated in searches, who found wonderful faculty. And I welcome the new faculty who are here with us today, and all of you. I hope we'll get a chance to say hi to them as well. Our enrollment for this spring is not exactly what we'd hoped. We still have a few more hours today, clearly, and we work very closely to ensure that we can continue to accommodate some students who have an epiphany at some point during this night, I suppose. So it really is a tremendous effort that goes on. It begins in many ways with the faculty, because you reach out to students, encourage students to get advised, to register for classes, and you help direct them to the right people and the right courses, et cetera. And certainly for all of our student affairs folks and all our folks who are advisors, thank you, because they really have done a great job to make the students take that next step on their own behalf, hopefully. But we really, really need enrollment. We are revenue-based, and revenue comes from a variety of sources, apparently quite uncertain at this moment, but Queensborough is in very good shape financially, but it's all predicated on enrollment and on continued engagement of our students so that they stay here. Our biggest drop-off seems to be in continuing students. It's quite alarming. We do very well with recruiting new students. We've done very well with recruiting transfer students. I'm not sure why, but the continuing students kind of drop off a bit, and it's really worrisome. Faculty, your front line, you know your students. It's a great chance that you might have to recruit them for your next sequential course, for a colleague's course in the department or in the program that they're studying. So please, I really hope that you can help with that. There are very few things that we can control these days. That's one of them. This is us at Queensborough. Our students really have close relationships with faculty, and I think that's an advantage that we have over many other places. So to try to help and focus on some of these things, we've reassigned some staff. We established a new student engagement office and took Carol-Aline, who is with advisement. She's heading it up by herself at this point with some great help from the rest of student affairs. We are trying to ensure that students who are applying to Queensborough are better understanding of what they need to do, be it preparing for placement tests, understanding how to pay for college, or even working with the families so that the families can be part of the process to ensure a student is successful here. We're also opening up, any minute, a transfer resource unit, again with folks who've been reassigned, and it will include everything from developing articulations, which are done with our faculty, with other institutions, program to program, and it's also done with advisors who will help our students prepare for graduation and transfer. This is specifically targeted for students who are about to graduate and will go on, because it's important that students realize if they stay here and get a degree, it's to their advantage. There are incredible opportunities for scholarships for graduates with associate degrees, and our students have earned them, and we will have now a group of folks to help with that. So the transfer resource unit will be located in the A building, second floor, and it includes Linda Reisman on articulation, George Machida on the transfer opportunities, Renee Rod, I'm sorry, social sciences, but we took her. She's really going to take an expanded role working specifically with all the students enrolled in our dual joint programs, to date 9 dual joint programs, and we want to make sure that there's a proper bridge to their next step. So that's an alert for you, and thank you for helping. I want to congratulate personally the awardees of the Faculty Excellence and Scholarship Awards, very deserving faculty. There are many, many faculty I'm sure that we'll see in the future coming up. I also want to congratulate everyone on 64 PSC CUNY grants, 21 from the Department of English. Gosh, you're busy there. You really are. Thank you. And I want to give special appreciation to the grants office, to Terrence Diamond and his staff, because I know that this is a collaborative effort, and I really wish you all the best of luck. I love it. You know, you can always count on the nursing department for good news, always. And we have our 2015 collective NCLEX exam results. That's the state licensure for nursing. Every student who graduates from a nursing program in New York State takes the NCLEX. Well, of course, we had the highest in CUNY again, of course. That's amazing. And that's the senior colleges. So Hunter, Lehman, we're way past them. What amazes me is that this year, in addition to that, we're 10 points above the state average, period, and we have beaten in score NYU, Columbia, Binghamton. So. There's much work going on regarding curriculum, and just a few highlights. Our colleagues in the Department of Biology, with colleagues from Health Education, are working and close to presenting to our governance groups a program in public health. It is, I hope, what will be a real fast track to a dual joint program with York and with Hunter. So congratulations to them, because they've done a great deal of work over the last several years to achieve that, and you'll be receiving that in the next month or so. Also, we're working, the Department of Engineering Technology has been hard at work, working with John Jay on a program called Computer Science and Information Security. And this is interesting because we had a brief conversation, the president of John Jay and I, oh gosh, it was only months ago, and the Engineering Technology Department really ran with this. Their faculty, several of them, 3 of them actually, are now certified in super duper security stuff. There's a more formal name, I know, but they really brought to the table everything that was needed, and our programs at the moment line up almost beautifully, so they're still tweaking everything, and it will be brought to, again, to governance soon. We have program reviews going on. Many faculty have worked on these. The joint program with John Jay in Science for Forensics, which is sponsored by our chemistry department. I want to say a special thank you to Dr. Kevin Kollick. He really led that with Sasan Karimi and his colleagues to put together. It's a massive amount of work, as you know if you've been through it. And of course, we're about to meet with our external evaluators for the program on criminal justice with John Jay. Again, I want to thank Dr. Liz Bartels, Dr. Jane Paulson, and of course, Joe Culkin. That's an amazing program that enrolls somewhere around 1,300 students. It's very important. And I want you to please give a hug to all the faculty, well, I'll shake hands, the faculty in art and music and dance and theater, because they have been separately seeking their program certification on a national level. This is huge. They're in various states of progress. We've done a lot of work with them on facilities, but their faculty have done incredible work that ranges from curriculum to obviously faculty recruitment, which is key, and facilities and the program development in these areas. It's very unusual. It's very hard, apparently, to get national certification. There are only several hundred schools that do have it, and very few are community colleges. The consultants I've met with, because we've had to work with people from the agencies, the external agencies, were just bowled over by what they saw. The work is incredibly difficult, and it continues. So I want to thank our colleagues in those departments for that great work. And of course, our own staff does thank, you can clap. It really is. On our own campus, we have some projects going on, some seemingly endlessly, but we are working on actually a media studio for faculty development, which will also be used by the speech department. We have a grant from one of our legislators to do that. We are, as we speak, I hope, finishing up the renovation of 3 chemistry labs, again, through a legislative grant, and that's, I don't know how they did it. I'm not sure we will, I know we will do it. But it's really, since we finished finals through now, B&G has just been maniac crazy trying to get all these projects done. ADA bathrooms in the humanities building, which are very important. And I'm so proud of the biotechnology research lab. If you have not seen it, it's, what is it, 225, MedArts 225, the biotech lab? It is stunning. It's a tribute to the faculty who, in biology, who have really worked very hard. It was originally it is part of the CUNY 2020, but that money, as you know, that pipeline seems to be very long in funding. So we went ahead as a college and made sure that everything was in order for that lab. And if you get a chance, please go up there. The equipment is obviously way above me, but the enthusiasm and the work that our faculty are doing are just amazing. So, and rumor has it that the Science Courtyard may in fact open sometime this semester. It's been very challenging, but probably more so for the people that have had to listen to me at CUNY and DASNY, et cetera. But the theme of this convocation is support for faculty on a personal, professional level, and I know you've heard from Deer Oaks. I appreciate what Paul described, and it is heartfelt and intended to really support all the great work that you do. It really is emphatic, and I really appreciate that our governance leaders have joined in this and have really worked to make sure that every aspect is forwarded. Cedal has been involved. Kathleen Landy has been a great asset, and I do want to thank everybody for the work on these workshops and all the different activities that Paul described. There's another committee, I'm not sure because I came in a little bit late, the City University of CUNY, along with, I think, with the faculty senate of CUNY, really got together, and there is now, through CUNY OAA, an advisory committee for faculty, and each college was asked to send representatives. We were very blessed to have, obviously, Sandra Palmer represent us as Dean of Faculty, but our governance leaders selected one of the best and most amazing governance leaders we've ever had at Queensborough to serve on your behalf, Professor Alex Tarasco. Alex, are you here? Please stand up. I think the team is very good. It takes all of us to do it, and we're going to really make a difference. You're about to hear from some faculty who serve on our Diversity Strategic Plan Advisory Committee. Gosh, we do use a lot of words. This is an activity that all of the CUNY schools do. It's been interesting here because the folks involved, and you'll meet them now, are names that you might not recognize because They are sometimes newer faculty, sometimes faculty who have served in many ways in their departments, but now you'll get to see them more on center stage. And I really appreciate it. Their contributions and recommendations to create a positive environment for our faculty are just quite laudable, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say. I'm going to reiterate what Paul said, because earlier this week I did write to all the department P&B members, all the departments, and asked them to please help with this initiative to really help frame some criteria. I'm not using the R word because you'll throw tomatoes at me or something. I think it's important. The decisions to reappoint and give tenure and promote faculty begin in the departments. So it's your colleagues on department P&Bs who have chosen to run, who've been elected by you, and I am directly speaking to those folks now to please, I know you think about things when you look at faculty for reappointment, tenure, promotion. I know that. And I think it really would be helpful if we could begin to make more formal let's just start with one thing that you look at to judge the effectiveness of teaching, of scholarship, creative activities, of service. Just one thing in each category. We'll start real small, but I think it's important to respond to the questions that we've received from faculty over the last number of years. And the department P&Bs are the bedrock of governance at the department level. And so I really hope you'll do this. And I would like to see it so that we can present it formally, to bring it out, and it's not going to look all the same when it's I'm like you. I'm not going to drink the water. You drank the water. There are gradations in departments that in terms of how they interpret equality in terms of scholarship or equality in terms of scholarly creative activity. But I think there are consistent things. What I'd like to bring forward, and again, I really appreciate the governance leaders also being part of this conversation. Let's take a look at this in a formal way. We'll begin small, and we'll work with people. We have something like 160 some odd untenured faculty. When it came to the college P&B, they were all successful in reappointment this year. So I think departments do a good job, department chairs do a good job. I think we're all trying to do a better job, and I really ask you for your help with that. And it really would be good to get it done this spring, at least that first baby step. And I ask for your help with that. And you're no better, really, leaders. You know your department's better than anyone else. So please, department P&B members, say, aren't you sorry that I have your listservs? I know you can help us with that. So this is going to be, I think, a very good semester, an interesting semester. I'm very anxious to hear from our faculty colleagues on the advisory group. And so I'm going to stop talking unless I can take a question from someone, anyone. No, we're good. All right. Thank you.
Okay, now we have the Diversity Strategic Planning Advisory Committee. Who goes first? Annie, which one is it?
Oh yeah, it's this one, Paul.
Okay.
Let me take it.
But is it going to go to the beginning?
Yeah, from the beginning.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm one of the members of the Diversity Strategic Plan Advisory Committee. And this morning, what we're going to do is present some of the plans that we have for the upcoming semester. But before we start, what we like to do, here's a list of the committee members. And unfortunately, Meg's name is off, but she's also a member. Sorry, Meg. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with an activity. And so what one of the committee members is doing, she's handing out note cards. And so on that note card, can you please write down a word or a phrase that comes to mind when you hear the word diversity? This activity is designed to get everyone thinking about the upcoming discussions that we're about to present. And then at the end, later on today or tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to use the words to create a word cloud that will be shared with everyone. And a word cloud looks something similar to this. So once we get your suggestions and everything, we'll put that together in a word cloud.
Good morning. I am Kerri-Ann Smith from the Academic Literacy Department, one of the faces not so familiar to everyone. First, we'd like to thank, as a committee, we'd like to extend our thanks to Dr. Call for your hindsight, your insights, and your foresight in creating this committee, and for your unwavering support, really, for the work that we're doing. We'd also like to thank Joe Panaleo for the same hindsight and insight and foresight that you've put into this committee and the projects that we're working on. Thank you. So, unless you've lived behind a wall, and pun intended, for the last 6 to 12 months, there are two things that you, Ray? There are two things that you probably know. The first is, don't watch that, Donald Trump is the leading candidate for the Republican Party, hence the wall that I said. And second, the word diversity has been a hot button topic in higher education. When we say that, we mean Missouri, Yale, Princeton, and other colleges, Amherst, where we've seen an uprising, uprising is a harsh word, but we've seen a proliferation, really, of support or the lack thereof for diversity. Luckily for Queensborough, we sit at the epicenter of diversity in the country, to some degree, and we have not had any such uprisings. And before we do, we have chosen, Dr. Call and Joe Panaleo, have chosen to address this head on. So today we're going to talk as a committee about what that means for us at Queensborough, how we will set that up, and the efforts that we'll put forward. I defer to hear Marvin.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Marvin Gayle. I'm an associate professor in the Engineering Technology Department. So what I wanted to start off with is just talk a little bit about what diversity means. So diversity is not just a black and white issue, okay? It cuts across different segments. It involves race, sexual orientation, national origin, political affiliation, and all these other hot button issues that are highlighted on the slide. To frame the discussion, we could define diversity as a means of acknowledging and accepting tolerances and differences among people. It is also a set of conscious practices that involve interdisciplinary activities, natural, environmental, I got a little sidetracked. It involves understanding and appreciating interdependence of humanity, cultures, and national environment. It also involves practicing mutual respects for qualities and experiences that are different from our own, understanding that diversity means not only the ways of being, but also ways of knowing. That applies, of course, to how we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It also involves recognizing the personal and cultural and institutionalized discrimination that creates or sustains privilege for certain subset of folks and the disadvantages for another subset. It also involves building alliances across differences as we work together for a common good. For Queensborough, we're in a little bit of a sweet spot, okay? Because Queensborough is situated in one of the third most ethnically diverse communities in the United States, the Borough of Queens. If we look at the community college review that ranks community colleges across different aspects, Queensborough's diversity rating gets 0.8 or 0.78. That's on a scale of 1. Nationally, the diversity ratio of colleges are averaging about 0.5, all right? If we look at some detailed data, what we'll see is that the faculty and the staff at Queensborough is a little bit less diverse than the student body. The data for the student body reveals that we have a pretty even distribution across ethnic lines. What happens when we look at the data for the staff, we find that there are certain groups that are a little bit underrepresented, as you can kind of see in the chart that the data reflects this. When we look at the data at the university level, we find that Queensborough, the data that we got from Queensborough kind of reflects the data at the university level. This data we got from the Office of Institutional Research. They went over, looked at the data for the last 26 years, from 1990 to about 2010. That's what the years we have data for. What we see is that, what happened there? Thank you. I think I broke it.
Well, it's working up top. It's working up top, so.
Okay, let me go back.
Hooray!
The engineer in me wants to fix it, but. All right, so I don't see it on my screen. I'll just point to what I have on front. The data at the university level for students reflect the same level of diversity that we see at Queensborough. There's a pretty even distribution across ethnic lines for the students. For the faculty, the data that we see at the university level kind of reflects the data that we see at Queensborough. There are certain groups that are a little bit underrepresented, as you can see from the data that we have on front. Oh, thank you. Now, the next part of the presentation goes into why do we want to have a more diverse community? Why is it that we aim to make the student body and the faculty body more diverse?
So to borrow just a bit from, here we go again. All right. Okay. Hot button. Yeah, thanks. So to borrow just a bit from Forbes magazine actually put out an article earlier this year when this discussion started going viral, for lack of a better word. And they cited research from the National Center for Educational Statistics. And this information might be a little jarring. The percentage of Black college students rose from 11.7% in 2000 to 14.7% in 2013. That's not up there. I wanted you to hear it. The percentage of Hispanic students, Latino if you may, increased from 9.9% to 15.8% over the same time period. So we see those trends. However, in 2013, only 6% of all full-time faculty were Black and 5% were Hispanic. Among full professors, the numbers dropped to 4% for Blacks and 3% for Hispanics. I enjoy that silence. What does this mean? Oh, here we go again. I'm gonna just stay over here. So we've looked into some of the research. Of course, a lot of us, we've seen this on the community dialogue, John Ogbu, the seminal piece on diversity in higher ed. But this one is from Hurtado, Clayton, Peterson, and Allen. And they discuss 5 important reasons why we should diversify our faculty and staff in higher education. The first being that faculty and staff of color provide support for students who come from that same demographic. And also, diverse faculty and staff members serve as representatives to the commitments of each college to diversify or confront issues of diversity. A more diverse faculty also creates a more comfortable environment for other people who are of diverse backgrounds to come into the college and participate. And the diverse faculty also brings, different perspectives on different issues, different voices to the table, a different face, if you may. And a diverse faculty and staff, like I said before about foresight, hindsight, and insight, are a reflection of the institution's commitment to making the college successful through diversity and scholarship. So what does this mean for Queensborough? It means that we have now decided to go with a mission called The Shift. We are starting honest, informed, and focused transformations on campus. This means that we'd like to imply we have to create associations between what happens now. We're at the epicenter, we have diversity here, but let's create some associations between what happens now and what can happen when we actively work together. And then we need to apply those associations in some way by creating avenues through and by which we can talk and act upon what we've learned. And finally, we need to comply. We need to follow through and ensure that we've made conscious efforts to ensure that these things that we've discussed and talked about and practiced remain here with us. Why? Bell hooks. We're all familiar with the great bell hooks. She says, all of us in the academy and in the culture as a whole are called to renew our minds if we are to transform educational institutions and society so that the way we live, teach, and work can reflect our joy in cultural diversity, our passion for justice, and our love of freedom. So our goals as a committee this year and beyond, I suppose, are to first introduce a series of conscious efforts that facilitate a shift in the dialogue surrounding diversity here at Queensborough, and we shift. I'm so used to saying shift now. We seek to engage faculty, staff, and students, right? So we are including our students in this entire shift, and we hope to include them in open and honest conversations about using culturally responsive teaching, practicing cultural awareness, and engaging culturally inclusive language in our dialogue on campus in general. And to tell us more about the programs that we'll be working on, here's Wendy, Dr. Wendy Ford from the Business Department.
Hello. I would like to thank Dr. Call for giving me this opportunity to speak today. And I also hope, I am in the business department, I'm in the technology area. I hope I don't have as many technology problems with the PowerPoint, but it may happen. I'm going old school with the keyboard. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit today about some of the things that the committee is going to do this semester. And I brought up this slide again because I love this picture. It says so much. Clearly, diversity, of course, is not just black and white. There are so many facets of diversity that are represented here that we as a community should discuss, explore, highlight, and share. In addition, when we think about this diagram, it's a puzzle. So the puzzle pieces remind us that there will be things that we have to figure out. Some of it will be easy, but there will also be challenges. Just like with the puzzle, we'll try something and it may not fit. We'll make informed decisions based on our experiences and we will make progress. So I'm going to talk about 3 events that our committee has planned for this semester. And the events are highlighted there. All of the events relate to enhancing dialogue about diversity and inclusion. One of the objectives of this committee is to enhance the inclusive climate on campus. promoting diversity, fostering inclusiveness, and improving the cultural climate on campus. And it's intended to improve trust between the faculty, the students, and the staff, and enhancing the educational experience for all of the students, as well as improving the work environment for everyone involved. So the first event that we're planning this semester is a diversity and inclusion seminar. And the seminar will be a learning-focused, campus-wide seminar on issues of diversity, and it's supported through the Office of CEDL, as well as through the Holocaust Resource Center. So one of the benefits that we have at Queensborough is that we're already doing great work in the area of diversity and inclusion, and so we're going to kind of build on what we've done in the past. Led by a prominent voice in the diversity community, the workshop will provide information about diversity-related issues, provide a safe and structured place for dialogue, and help us generate ideas about creating a culturally responsive learning environment here at Queensborough. Some of the benefits that we hope to achieve are listed here: considering different perspectives, encouraging civil discussions, fostering mutual respect, and enhancing our campus cultural climate. And one of the things that we keep in mind, as I said, diversity is not just black and white. There are so many facets of diversity. And, it includes the things that are listed there: the gender, the race, people with disabilities. And the idea is that everyone has a characteristic that makes them diverse. So this is really a conversation and issues that relate to everyone. It's not just one particular group or about a particular group. So promoting inclusion amongst the campus affects us all and benefits all of us. And this is a collective effort. It's not just for faculty. It's a collective effort across the campus for faculty, students, and staff. So the seminars that we have and the events that we have will address the different constituencies on campus, will address the needs of everyone, and the idea is that we are going to build bridges and improve the bridges that we have amongst these groups. The seminars will build, as I have said, on the valuable efforts towards diversity, inclusion, and understanding that we already have here at Queensborough. And so you see some of the areas there, and many of you on campus, you're already working with some of these groups. And so, to a certain extent, as I think about some of the things that we're doing in the committee, as I was looking into it more and learning about it more, I said to myself, we're already doing so many things on campus in this regard. So some of those things, we want to highlight them, but then we want to go further with some of that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. See what happens when you go off script. Okay, so the final point about this slide, we understand that we have many things that we're doing on campus. The thing is, this should give us encouragement about embarking on these additional pathways, putting ourselves in a position to push forward, because we've done it, we're already working in this regard. So the first event was the seminar to really open the dialogues about diversity and inclusion on campus. The second event is more of an ongoing activity than a single event. Approximately 1/3 of our student clubs represent diversity. And I took this list off of the Student Activities website. So hopefully it's up to date. If it's not, don't blame it on us. I just pulled it from the website. So one of the things that we hope to do with help from Stephen DiDio in marketing is to revamp the section on the QCC website related to student diversity and the way the clubs are represented. We'll work in conjunction with the Student Activities Office, of course, since everything related to clubs comes through them. We're also going to attempt to record the QCC history of some of these diversity-focused based groups and clubs on campus. Recorded history validates the value of particular groups. And so instead of just identifying the fact that we have these particular groups on campus, we want to be able to provide more information. What initiated this group? Why is this group here? What are some of the key things that they do? Now, in that regard, I know that many of you sitting out there are faculty advisors for some of those groups. And so, as a committee, we are asking for your help in terms of trying to identify information that we can related to the history about how some of these groups initiated and what some of the key things are that these groups do. So we'll be reaching out to the club advisors. And also, if there are faculty members who are no longer club advisors, but maybe you were a club advisor at some point, and you have some information to share about how a club started or some particular aspect of that club, definitely contact our committee so that we can include that information on the website. So as always, we want to recognize the great work, of course, that we are currently doing, and then we want to continue to shift and highlight the student diversity. So this was one way that we really thought that we could get the students involved. Inviting students to seminars, that's good. Sometimes you have to pull them to come to that. But since the students are already actively involved in the clubs and getting them in clubs, getting them involved in this way is something that we thought that they would, readily be able to do and be excited about doing. Okay, and the third event is another workshop. The first workshop is more of a kind of let's open the dialogue. Let's kind of see where we are in regards to this. And part of that activity that you just did, that first activity, where you wrote down what came to your mind when you thought about diversity, that's part of opening this dialogue. So we get a snapshot of what we all think about this idea of diversity. And so that first seminar is really going to allow us to expand on that. And then the third workshop is going to hopefully allow us to tap into the resources that we have here on campus. Because many of you, I know, are scholars in this area or have taken a special interest in this area. So what we want to do is to ask you to help us put together a workshop for us, for our community, that involves things that are a little bit more specific. This idea of role-playing so that we can understand what these issues of inclusion mean, or these ideas when we talk about a culturally responsive learning environment. What does all that mean? And then also we want to be solution-oriented. We don't want to just spend time, I don't want to say hours, we don't want to just spend time talking about things. We want to come up with solutions and strategies that will help us in our classroom as well as in our workplace in general when we're interacting with others. Okay, no notes on this slide. Okay. Okay, so, and this just identifies, just to give you guys some more thought in terms of when I talk about this idea of inclusive strategies. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we have Meg Tarafdar who's going to come up and really dig deeply into this. So these are some of the things that we'll focus on, but she will, go farther with this than I possibly ever could. So lastly, we're back to this slide. It's a great diagram. These are just a few events that will take place this semester. There will be more. QCC's commitment to continue the shift toward an inclusive campus climate is not a one-semester endeavor. It's an ongoing process, and it's about a new way of thinking. It's a recognition of the fact that we are all diverse in one way or another, and that a diverse student body, a diverse campus has value. And it's a recognition of the fact that our primary mission, which is to educate, is achieved more effectively when we face our challenges head on and we draw on the strength of our differences. Now, Trevor Milton will come up and talk about some additional diversity initiatives that we'll have this semester. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Trevor Milton, Assistant Professor in Social Sciences. Trained in sociology, I teach mostly criminal justice classes here. Let's see if I have any of my slides available. Here we go. One thing I do want to say off the cuff is this word diversity might actually be a little frightening to some. The intent of diversity, obviously, is inclusion, but some people might see that word and hear exclusion. And I was thinking as Wendy was talking that, and I almost want to bring this slide back up. That as she was talking, I was thinking that diversity is, now I'm going to have the same problem as everybody else. Diversity is an opportunity for learning. And this is not a part of my speech. This is not something I came in planning to say today, but this was just something that I was thinking about as I was sitting here, listening. There was this one graphic that Wendy brought up that hopefully I will find it at some point, should be soon, especially as a professor in sociology, let's say I'm teaching a class on social norms, practices here it is, perfect. If I'm teaching a class on social norms and I'm talking about culture and I'm talking about the way that we dress, the way that we act, common values, some of our norms regarding parenting, it's so nice. And I'm just looking at this little globe-shaped thing here of all these different countries. It is wonderful to be able to pull off of the experiences of our students. It is nice to, let's say parenting in particular. It's very nice in the classroom to be able to say like, okay, here's how I was raised. Possibly this is how a typical American is raised, and these are parental values. What do you guys think? And then in a class of 30 to get 30 different opinions and experiences, that is amazing. And that is one thing that makes this college so fascinating, is to be able to pull off of each of those experiences. So the initiative that I was involved in was about recruitment for new faculty and to be able to diversify the faculty a little bit more here. And we had come up with this idea of why teach at Queensborough Community College, there's two parts to that. Why teach at a community college, and then why teach at Queensborough Community College. And I'll start by saying initially that for those, because I know a lot of the faculty here are split between those who come out of academic programs and those who come out of professional programs. And I know for a lot of ABDs, all but dissertations, people that come out of academic programs, there's this dream of like, when I get my PhD, I'm only going to apply at NYU or Columbia, maybe Princeton, I don't know. That's kind of a drive. And for many, a community college is a landing spot for those that can't get those big name universities. But the reality is that community college is a place for good academics, good business professionals, and especially good teachers. So the two parts to why should you teach and why should you be actually very proud to teach at Queensborough Community College, first of all, has to do with Queens County. Some of the stats I'm going to be showing you guys have already been shown, so some of my colleagues stole my thunder. But first of all, Queens County, the borough of Queens, it's been noted by many to be one of the most diverse places on earth. According to one of the lectures, this is the third most diverse county in the country. Tell me the other two. Is that? I wonder how they measure that exactly. Can they stack up to this stuff? Very interesting, very interesting. I wonder how diversity is measured there. All right, the one thing I do know about Queens County is that it is incredibly diverse. Obviously, in terms of like countries of origin, there's over 190 different countries of origins represented in Queens County, over 138 different languages spoken in the county of Queens. 48% of the population in Queens is foreign-born. That's only second to Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County is a little bit over 50%. But this, in and of itself, whether you live in Queens or whether you teach in Queens, you should be proud of the fact that you are in a place where if you want to study culture, sometimes all you have to do is walk a few feet. That's something that you should be proud of. In terms of, and this is some of the data that's already been shown, in terms of racial background in Queens County, it's almost a four-way split between white, black, Asian, and again, Latino or Hispanic, whichever you'd like to show. As a person who studies race, the Latino and Hispanic category is interesting because, like, for example, the United States Census Bureau does not count that as a race. And so when talking about race informally, I think we include Hispanic or Latino. Informally, formally not so much so. Here at Queensborough Community College, as was already mentioned, very much a reflection of the county in and of itself. This is a community college. This college serves the community of Queens. And as a result of that, 139 different nationalities amongst the student body at the school. And this is actually just for freshmen of 2014, but a good indication of the student body here. 87 different languages spoken here. And again, about that four-way split among students here. And again, interestingly enough, I have this little note at the bottom of like the top 10 countries of birth besides those that are born in the United States, including China, Guyana, Jamaica, Bangladesh, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Colombia, South Korea, and India, from all over the world. Again, I say to my fellow colleagues, you should be very proud to teach a student body that's so diverse. Again, because of the idea that we have so much to learn from our students. And of course, our students, you'd hope that they have a lot to learn from us. But I swear every semester I do learn some odd cultural practice, some odd set of values that contribute to how I change my lectures going into the following semester. I've never had that at any of the colleges that I've taught. And I've adjuncted, I think, everywhere in New York City, I swear. Besides that, also mentioned already is how the faculty is distributed here. We do have gender diversity, 50.6% women teaching here, 49.4% men, about 50-50 split, obviously. The faculty not as diverse as the students. Now, this isn't necessarily a problem where people need to be excluded from or kicked out or something like that. But it certainly helps to look for and help to recruit more of a diverse body. One thing that's very interesting is that we are in a time, and maybe we're kind of at the end of a time where there have certainly been more applicants than there are jobs when it comes to being a college professor. I've been on a couple search committees. Show of hands, how many of you have ever been on a search committee here? As you know, like the number of applications that you have to sift through is just unprecedented, right? So those that are on search committees, we have this incredible advantage of being able to pick those that we feel fit, those that we feel will be a good match to the college, and kind of, you get to pick the best of the best if you want. And again, some things that these new applicants need to learn is that a community college is not a place that is a last resort. It is a place that is it's a good start for a few reasons. Here I just wanted to mention that we, as the committee, one of our charges is expanding diversity recruitment efforts and outreach to increase awareness of available teaching opportunity to as many people as possible from diverse backgrounds. So that's part of what I've been doing. That's part of what the diversity committee has been doing, is seeking out a diverse body amongst faculty. And so how do we expand diversity amongst our faculty? Now, there's a few answers to this, and if you look at different colleges have different answers to this. Some colleges will create a diversity hire, or even, I actually served on a committee at another college that actually had what they called an affirmative action candidate, or affirmative action hire. As a person of color, that felt really weird. That just didn't feel right. I understood the goal at the end of that, which is like, we're going to increase diversity amongst our faculty. So we're going to set aside one line for a person with darker skin. And it just didn't feel right while it was happening. You can also, in a job ad, mention that you are looking for a person of color, or persons of color are encouraged to apply. That's also a little behind and backwards. What we settled on was the idea of how do we reach a more diverse applicant pool, is to kind of look for that pool in academic institutions, at academic conferences or professional conferences, and just advertise the school as it is. This is a place of diversity. This is a place where you can grow. This is a place where not only can you teach your students, but you can learn from your students on a regular basis. And so kind of like back to that question of why I teach at Queensborough Community College, which, by the way, this eventually is going to manifest itself in a promotional video. I almost want to start recruiting now, but maybe I shouldn't. But the idea is that part of this committee is going to go around the school and ask you why you choose, or why you chose to teach here at Queensborough Community College. Of course, if your answer is, "Wow, it was my last resort," that's not a good. Let's not. We don't want to interview. But I assume that there's going to be many people who would rather be here than anywhere else, and we want to hear about those reasons. Why you teach at a community college and why you teach at Queensborough Community College. We want to kind of gather as much of that sentiment as possible. Reasons why nationally, when looking at a little bit of literature review. Obviously, teaching at a community college places more emphasis on teaching. We're some of the most educated people in the world, and we're the least trained for our jobs. That's the funny thing about being a college professor, is that we don't take courses on how to be a professor. We just trip and fall into it, and it happens. Some of us are really good at it. Some of us have no clue what we're doing. And eventually it starts to manifest into good teaching. So for those who enjoy teaching, a community college, and Queensborough in particular, is a great place for that. There are those that, there are some academics that want to go to a Research One school and not teach at all. And just, I want my teaching assistant to handle my classes, and I'm just going to be out in the field like Indiana Jones, collecting artifacts. But some of us actually enjoy being in the classroom. So this is a place for that type of person. And it's almost a dirty secret amongst some academics that you like teaching. I mean, God forbid. So Queensborough is a good place for that. And regarding research, faculty do, this is in my opinion, I mean, you guys tell me if you agree, disagree with this idea, but have the freedom to pursue the type of research that they're more passionate about. There are other institutions that may want to push and mold you into certain types of research, push you towards certain academic journals, push you towards certain publishing groups, and to collaborate with people that you really want to have no business with. But I think at a place like Queensborough, and let me just speak for myself, I really feel like I get to pursue the type of research that I'm very passionate about, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm incredibly thankful for that. And so Queensborough is a place that allows you to grow regarding your research interests. Also, the fact that we tend to only teach survey courses or 100, 200 level courses. This was written by John Ball from the American Historical Association, was basically saying that these survey courses are broad enough to allow faculty enough freedom to include their own research in the courses. something that other institutions might not allow. So that's, C, or number 3, an advantage. Also, you get to be a part of the CUNY system. CUNY is great in terms of, just Paul's presentation alone shows you how much that this institution, how much the institution of CUNY and how much the institution of Queensborough Community College support faculty, support you in your ideas, support you in your pursuits, generally speaking. And that's something that is a great tool for, recruiting those that may or may want to teach here. So again, in light of that, QCC has many services supportive to faculty research, supportive to career development, pedagogic development, and skills development. I've taught at quite a few colleges, and this was the first place that just kept offering seminar and workshop after workshop for, hey, do you need to sharpen this skill? Go to this workshop. Hey, do you need to work on this thing? Would you like to publish here? Work on. I've never been at a place that was more supportive of its faculty. So that is a huge plus here. And then third to that is there's a new trend going on amongst students. Students are starting to get hip to the idea that going to community college may be the greatest first step that they could take. I mean, if I could jump in a time machine and go back to my 8-year-old self and shake that person up and smack them, don't go to a community college and pay in-state tuition, for Christ's sake. Please, and not have to deal with the student loan that I have right now. Students are getting hip to that now. So we're also getting a more diverse pool of students, more academically diverse pool of students, smarter students, and students that want to start off on the right foot. And so we're starting to see that in our classrooms now. More and more students are choosing to forego 4-year colleges and start off in a 2-year college. And so we want to be there as that wave begins to crest. And I think students are smart enough not to pay the expensive tuition that comes with the aforementioned colleges that I'd said before. But generally speaking, this is something that I'm personally working on, the idea of why I teach at Queensborough Community College. At some point this semester, I would love to get in touch with folks that would like to contribute to this. This will literally be a promotional video that will be sent to college programs, that will be sent to PhD programs, professional programs, and also made available at conferences. Generally speaking, I think that's my stuff right there. So thank you all. I'm actually not sure. Forgive me, I was looking up who's next on the agenda. That's okay, so thank you.
Hello, my name is Meg Taraftar, Assistant Professor in English, and I'm going to talk to you today about some practical ideas of fostering thinking about diversity and inclusion on our campus. You have heard some wonderful ideas from the team members, from the committee members. We have been discussing all kinds of strategies for spreading awareness about diversity issues. And I'm going to take that one more step forward and invite you all to offer any ideas and suggestions for participation. As we said, this particular initiative is for faculty, staff, students, and everybody on our community. The first area I would like to mention is the impactful diversity sessions to inspire and transform. As a coordinator of global and diversity learning as a high-impact practice, we do offer workshops on different aspects of intercultural learning. We talk about human rights, we talk about sustainability, and we try to create an inclusive pedagogy that takes into account our diverse student population. So we focus more on the pedagogical aspects as well as the deeper understanding of what it means to be on a campus like Queensborough. We will also spread the word about empowering messages from invited guest speakers. So you will be hearing from us about sessions that are going to be offered at the Holocaust Center as well as through CETL. And the guest speakers will be mentioned and listed, so please participate. The next thing I would like to mention is the social media scavenger hunt with prizes. And this could be a get-to-know-us type of a scavenger hunt that students can be involved in, as well as faculty can also participate. This will include clues on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever we want to include. And this will send some clues to the students or to the community about specific events, objects on campus, people, and whoever gets to visit those and take a shot. And this is just a plan. We can come up with questions that students can look for answers for those questions and post those. And at the end of the semester, we could include or announce a grand prize winner of some sort. If that works, again, we all need to talk about it as to how you could possibly get involved. But I think social media is a great way of getting the students involved in this diversity initiative. Going back to the different ways to foster thinking about diversity and inclusion, cultural events on campus. We have many cultural events, and if we can all spread the word about those events, maybe bring the students to those events, that will be great too. And we'll try to come up with techniques of announcing those events in a way that we can share the maximum, with maximum number of people. Posters, flags, and visible artifacts about SHIFT. You have heard about SHIFT, the sustaining, honest, interactive, focused transformations. And I'm going to talk about that a little more as to what exactly the workshops and events would entail. So we'll talk about that. You all will also have opportunities for sharing your transformative experiences, because it all begins with how we share with each other what we learn or what we know. This is a potential poster, something to that effect, as understanding the difference. You have heard my colleagues talk about diversity in different ways, and this is something we use in our GDL training program. We discuss a lot about what constitutes the difference. So as you can see, we see the individual differences at the top of the triangle. This is what is visible to most of us. We see the differences in attitudes, expectations, needs, etc. We have demographic differences, that is at the center of the triangle. We also have cultural differences. And we can spend a lot of time talking about some of this. In fact, in our training, we do talk about how intercultural communication is informed a lot by the power distance perceptions in the classroom. So if you have a student in your class who never comes to you for help or never discusses with you the areas that they are seeking assistance, that could be the power distance in many cultures. The students and professors don't communicate as we do here. I know I grew up in India, I went to school there. We could not open up with our professors to that extent like we do here. So many of our students that come from different cultures will not come to you. So understanding the power distance is very important for us to see why the students act in some certain ways. Collectivism, individualism. Some cultures are collective, the we cultures, versus the me culture. So if you have a group project where students are participating in a teamwork, someone from collectivist culture may not care as much if their name is on the PowerPoint or not, because the group recognition is more important than individual recognition. And there are other students, they want to be the first to be announced or listed. So there's a lot of difference in how the interaction takes place in teamwork and group dynamics. The gender issues play a very complex role in our students' lives, and we need to understand those as well. We do devote some time to discussing those in our GDL program. Uncertainty avoidance. In some cultures, it is very important to know the outcome of something before you try for it. For instance, if your students say, what do I need to do to get an A? They are trying to avoid uncertainty to the extent that they can. And there's a lot of other ways that it happens. Some students may want to stick with the same professor through their other classes because they don't want to get into an uncertain situation where you have another professor with different expectations. And this plays out in many different ways in our classrooms as well as in our community. Long-term versus short-term orientation. So we see many students transferring out or, depending upon their orientation, how long they want to stay in a college, how long they want to stay in the class. And there are many theories involving some of these differences as well. So the areas of the cultural differences are the most complex for us to kind of probe and understand, because sometimes it is hidden. And so, but if we are aware, so some of these workshops can help us become more aware about these differences. What we see here is a diversity wheel. Many of my colleagues mentioned the diversity aspects, different aspects of diversity. As you see, the core of the diversity is our personality, and which is what the internal dimensions are. That's who we are at the core. And then we have external dimensions, which is the other part of the wheel that shows different aspects such as our income, our habits, our educational background, work experience, etc. We also have organizational dimensions of diversity as to what is your role in the organization, what is your seniority, what division are you from, and all those instances. So as you can see, diversity is a multi-dimensional factor with many issues that impact it, and we do talk about this as well. So sometimes I discuss these aspects in my classes as well, and the students really are able to relate to it. They talk about how they are themselves becoming diverse as they go on, how there have been changes in the way they see themselves and their place in the community. The other aspect, we will, some of the workshops can be based on questions such as, who am I? These are adapted from AACNU's readings and learning activities. Some faculty in the Global Diversity Group, they have spent a week. I know Professor Monahan has spent about a week just to make the students aware of who am I, the question, who am I? Diversity begins with ourselves. So we first have to become aware of who am I, What are my biases? How do I view the world? How do I view myself? How do I view others? How do I respond? How do I greet people? How do I disagree with people? And all those aspects of who am I. So very rarely do we focus on these aspects of ourselves. It's sometimes very easy to talk about who are they, but then again, once you become aware of who am I, the other workshop can be about comparative perspectives. Who are they? The knowledge of differences. What are the biases? How do we learn our biases? Do we learn through the media? Do we learn through the community? Do we learn through the parents? How do we know about others? And then empathy is a big, big aspect of learning about diversity, which is how does it feel like to be them? And we can focus a lot on these questions in some of our workshops. How do we talk to one another? Which is the intercultural communication, and lots of theories have evolved around intercultural communication in terms of direct and indirect speakers. We have linear and circular speakers. We have how speakers are motivated based on their position in the community, et cetera. So this is what will encourage intercultural dialogue. And ultimately, our goal is to improve our shared existence. So the question about how do we improve our interaction. So some of this awareness can lead to other types of activities and research in the fields. So a practical idea that we were planning to implement with the committee could be adopt a balloon. We have several committee members mentioned the terminology that they think about when we think about shift, or what comes to your mind. So the terminology is inclusive. It is a way of looking at diversity, harmony, sharing, synergy, strength, fairness, integrity, team spirit, transformation, awareness, inclusivity. So if we think about adopting just one balloon, and see how we can implement strategies in our group, in our office, in the department, and collectively, we will probably make good progress. In that, with this, I would like to, like us all to reflect on something. If I can have some volunteers sharing a moment or situation that made you realize the value of diversity and inclusion on campus. So if anybody wants to share something, that would be wonderful. This will be a very good way to kind of begin a series of reflections that we are thinking should be ongoing during the semester and beyond. So anybody would like to share?
Thank you. I incorporate global diversity learning in my art class, and I incorporated it in with service learning. And one of the first things I do is review the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, because our students come from all over the world and countries that honor them to greater or lesser extents. They need to be reminded sometimes. And at the end of class, in one of the reflections, the student wrote that when she saw the guarantee of freedom of religion, or the idea that it should be guaranteed, she realized that maybe she could try to arrange to have halal food on campus. And she was so moved by the fact that non-Muslim students helped her to investigate this and make it happen. So it just increased understanding and brought out the best in our Queens community. It was really very nice.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Naydu Carmona from Biological Sciences and Geology. I was going to do another activity, but we are out of time. But what I managed to do while we were listening was to assemble a word cloud with all the words that you suggested in the first activity. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you, and I just want you to reflect on what we heard about today, on the stories we heard about today, and on all the activities that will take place during the semester. We are only a committee, but this is college-wide, campus-wide, so we are happy to receive your input, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Well, this concludes the event. Once again, I'd like to welcome you for another semester. This promises to me a very exciting and we have a lot of exciting and very positive activities planned, and I look forward to seeing you, each and every one of you, coming in the next couple of months. Welcome back.